Hey guys, this video is a reminder of what I did in our Zoom call, but it's also here if you would like a repeat, right? A chance to replay what I said. So we are beginning a small writing assessment, smallish, couple days, where you're going to be comparing and contrasting the book you read in your book club with the other books we have read this year. We read Ties That Bind, Ties That Break, Out of Bounds, and Boys Without Names. Okay? I will add those in here. Let's put those here. Um, Ties that bind, ties that break. Out of bounds. Boys without names. Okay. Quick note. Titles. When you write an essay and you include the title of a book or the title of a play or the title of a poem, poems are different, but the title of a book is always italic when you're writing your papers. Okay. Quick definition. To compare is to point out the ways two things are similar, or that's generally how it's used. And to contrast is to point out differences. Compare, oh, these have a lot in common. Contrast, these are the differences. Similarities, differences. Okay? You can do both. You don't have to do one or the other. You don't have to have an even balance of both. If you want to skew more towards similarities, that's great. If you want to talk more about differences, that's great too, as long as you are really focusing in on the books and giving evidence. Okay. So let me show you the outline. Paragraph 1, I'd like you to just summarize your book club book. Tell me the author and the title. Quick note, your titles titles of books are italic in your essay, okay? Tell me what the main idea and plot of the book is. Main idea of the plot of the book are. Okay, 4 to 7 sentences. I have a sample coming up, so stay tuned. Paragraph 2, I want you to pick one of the 3 other books we read this year. Ties That Bind, Out of Bounds, Boys Without Names, and compare your book to just one of those, one per paragraph. That's how we're organizing our thoughts, okay? Paragraph number 2. So you might pick Ties That Bind, Ties That Break. Why not go in order, okay? Paragraph 3, now again, that's also 4 to 7 sentences. You'll see my example. Paragraph 3, pick another book we read, either Out of Bounds or Boys Without Names, and compare. Those are the required paragraphs, 3. That would earn you a meeting. If you wrote 3 great paragraphs, you would be meeting my expectations. Awesome. You're doing good in 6th grade. If you have the time and the energy and the desire to go beyond my expectations, here's some ways to extend. Okay. Paragraph 4. Compare and contrast your book club book with the last book we read of the year. So if you've already done the first 2, now you've got to connect it with the 3rd book. Okay. It's optional. You don't have to, you don't want to. If you'd like to just pick 2 of the 3 books, that's great. And again, 4 to 7 sentences. Mega optional extension. Compare and contrast your book club book with an independent book you read this year. It can't be a book we read in our class or a book you read in 5th grade. It needs to be a book you read this year that was not part of a humanities class. Okay? Quick notes. Use spell check. Capitalization matters and end punctuation matters. Periods, question marks, those kinds of things, the ends of sentences. Okay. There's a word bank here. You don't have to use these, but if you're stuck with how to start the next sentence or how to introduce your next idea, here are some words to help you. For example, one difference between blank and blank is, one way blank and blank are similar is, what blank and blank have in common is, where they differ is, on the one hand, on the other hand, blank and blank have many things in common, for example. One example of this is, where the similarity ends is, this shows me, this made me think, what I noticed is. Okay. Are you ready for my example? Here we go. So here is my essay. Remember to start it with the heading. The heading is the writer's name, the teacher's name, the class, and the date. The MLA has a very particular way of writing the date so that no one gets confused about what's the month and what's the day. If you don't write it this exact way, I won't be mad. But I kind of do like that it's very clear. 10 May 2020. It's the British way of saying it. Okay. Paragraph 1. The book I just read is Counting on Grace by Elizabeth Winthrop. Counting on Grace is about a girl named Grace in Vermont in the early 1900s who is working in a textile mill. Grace wants to support her family and help bring in money, but she quickly learns that working in the mill is dangerous and she should really be in school. This book, I didn't need a fourth sentence. I realized it said 4 to 7, I only had 3. This book exposes the challenges and dangers of child labor during the Industrial Revolution. Okay. Okay, now, so we got that. Let's just scroll back up and check. Summarize your book club book. This is obviously my own personal book club here. Tell me the author and the title. I did that. And tell me the main idea and plot. Okay. I feel like this should be main idea and plot. Okay. Okay, now, paragraph 2. It's telling me that paragraph 2 should be compare contrast your book club book with one of the books we read this year. Okay, so my first one is going to be about ties that bind, ties that break. Here we go. Counting on Grace is similar to Ties That Bind, Ties That Break because they both feature a smart, spunky girl as a main character. Eileen, speaks her mind and doesn't fit in with the typical girls around her, and that reminds me of Grace. Both Eileen and Grace also want an education. One difference is that Eileen refuses to have her feet bound and gets to go to school, but Grace does leave school to go work in the mill. Grace is energetic and talkative. She also really likes school. Let's see. She always speaks her mind. Okay, I'm just adding that in because I noticed I had mentioned a lot more about Eileen than I had mentioned about Grace. So I went back in and fixed that. Okay. Next, that's paragraph 2. Paragraph 3, my last required paragraph. I need to compare and contrast my book club with another book we read. I'm going in chronological order. I don't know if you noticed. Oh no, I'm not. I might jump to Boys Without Names. I thought there was the clearest similarity there and difference. Counting on Grace is very similar to Boys Without Names because both feature child labor as a big part of their plot. Gopal and Grace are about the same age and work in challenging and exhausting jobs. Where they differ is that Grace gets paid and has her freedom, whereas Gopal was kidnapped and did not receive any money for his work. At first, I thought that Grace had it better, and she does in many ways, but she's still a kid who is working instead of going to school. Another important difference in these books is that these books take place almost 100 years apart. This shows me that child labor is still a big part of work around the globe, even in the 21st century. Okay? Now, here comes my extension paragraph. Finally, counting on Grace is similar to Out of Bounds. So I had to connect it to Out of Bounds. Now, I don't have to connect it to every single story in Out of Bounds. I can connect it to just one story, which is what I did here. Specifically, so we start that sentence over again. Finally, comma, counting on Grace is similar to Out of Bounds, specifically the story, The Typewriter. Notice short stories go in quotation marks. Whole books get italics. Stories get quotation marks. The Typewriter is about a girl who writes pamphlets on a typewriter to spread the word about injustice. Okay, sorry, I'm adding to this. You can see the process in my brain. It's about he used a typewriter to spread the word about injustices in South Africa and planned protests. Grace's friend, Arthur, has been, we add a transition word, similarly, so people know that I'm moving back to the other book. Similarly, Grace's friend Arthur has been writing letters about child labor in the textile mills, hoping to get the attention of the government so they can put an end to it. I think this is important because writing and speaking are powerful ways to share your story, open people's eyes, and make change happen. Both these stories have taught me that if we all stay in our own bubbles and never share our stories, nothing ever changes. Okay. Now, I don't have the 5th paragraph. You really need to stretch yourself there. I want you to think of the books you've read this year, and I want you to make a compare and contrast paragraph of 4 to 7 sentences, and I don't have a model for that. So this is how that's why it's called the mega extension. Mega optional. Just a quick reminder. Optional means you don't have to do it. Required, here I will write required. Okay? And the other ones are optional. So this is an example of what you're going to be working on for the first part of this week. And I'm excited to get a chance to read these. and to have you guys share these with each other. Okay. Thanks, guys. If you have any questions, make sure you send me an email.